Hey guys, it's Emma, and I'm back today for you with another video. And today we're doing a book review. The book that we are going to be reviewing today is Gods Behaving Badly by Phillips. It's one that I've just recently read, and I absolutely adored it. Basically, what Gods Behaving Badly is about is the 12 Greek gods are living in a London apartment. They've been living there cramped together, having to deal with each other for the past couple centuries. They are all having to adapt to the modern world, and it's very stressful for each and every one of them because each and every one of them, again, like I said, is having to deal with each other. So at one point, Apollo and Aphrodite end up in a little bit of a squabble, which turns out to be an epic battle of wills, one would say, which ends up affecting two mortals, Alice and her would-be boyfriend Neil, and they have to help save the world once Aphrodite and Apollo's fight gets to be catastrophic levels. So I think any geek like myself of Greek mythology would love this book, just plain because it pertains so heavily on the Greek pantheon. And today this is going to be a spoiler-free review of Gods Behaving Badly. I will have the playlist that I listened to, which is, it's a Spotify playlist of like classical music. It's right here. And I will have that link down in the description below, along with all of my other links. And yeah, I'm just gonna highlight what I personally really loved about this book and why I think it makes this book such a good book. So before we start, I actually want to know, guys, down in the comments below, tell me what y'all's favorite Greek myth is. There's a myriad to choose from, all right? So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so what I want to talk about first is the characters. Most of the characters that we follow are the Greek gods. And because they are the Greek gods, they are all very arrogant, very selfish, very self-preserving, very entitled. The thing with these characters is that because they are so arrogant and so selfish, I can see where this could dissuade people from reading this book, just plainly because I know a lot of people don't necessarily like unlikable characters like this. However, I personally really enjoyed the fact that they were unlikable, just plainly because, you know, it fits the description of what they are, because, I mean, they are gods, and they haven't had any admirers for centuries, so it would make sense that they were arrogant and used to getting everything they want when they want it. I definitely felt that Phillips stuck to the script with these characters, and I appreciate it so much. Now, the connections to Greek mythology in this book is another thing that I want to talk about. Okay, so obviously you've got the Greek gods and their divine powers, but because they have to adapt to the 21st century, you've got them taking on 21st century jobs. For example, Artemis is a dog walker, Aphrodite is a phone sex worker, Apollo is a TV psychic. And then you've also got Dionysus, who runs like nightclubs and stuff. His nightclub is literally called the Bacchanalia, and the bouncers are the Maenads, who in Greek mythology are the cultists that worship Dionysus. I just loved it. And then you've got the whole thing with Hades and Persephone and Cerberus, and the connections from Greek mythology to this book that Phillips put in here, I absolutely adored it. It made my inner Greek mythology geek thrive, quite honestly. It was just really cool to see the different connections, especially like even the minute details. For example, the Bacchanalia and the Maenads and the oracles that serve Apollo being his TV assistants. I loved it. I loved each and every single detail that was put into this book. The romance, because like I said, it does affect Alice and Neil, who are friends, but they both pine for each other and neither one knows how the other feels about each other. So you've got that whole friends to lovers aspect. And another thing that I really like is that, like I said with the whole Greek mythology connections and everything like that, it's an Orpheus and Eurydice retelling. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Orpheus and Eurydice myth is, basically, long story short, Orpheus and Eurydice are married, and Eurydice dies from a snake bite and goes to the underworld, but Orpheus is so in love with her that he goes to the underworld to get her back, and ends up getting the chance to get her back, but ends up losing her completely. And it's just so sad and so bittersweet, yet so romantic, I guess, at the same time. Orpheus and Eurydice are, that whole myth is my favorite myth in Greek mythology. I absolutely adore that myth. And the fact that I got an Orpheus and Eurydice retelling in a book, oh, after my own heart. And we endorse. Not to mention the fact that Neil and Alice are just adorable, all right? So not only do we have an Orpheus and Eurydice retelling and a friends to lovers aspect in this book, but we also have a couple that we can root for, that we genuinely want to get together, that we genuinely want to work. Now, for this section of the video, we will talk about the main trigger warning that I want to put out there for people that want to read this book. There is a massive trigger warning for rape. So before we start this section, if you are still interested in reading this book, maybe skip this section if you're sensitive to the point where this would make you uncomfortable. But if this would make you so uncomfortable as to not read the book, by all means, don't read the book. Don't make yourself uncomfortable consciously, right? Don't do that to yourself. I would say that because nothing on page happens, it's just, you know, a mention of rape, and just the connections that I'm gonna make throughout this section of the video, I would say I believe myself that it is worth it to stick around. This section, like I said, is going to be about, I don't know, I believe what I took away, the commentary on the rape motif in Greek mythology, because in the book, you have a scene, I'm going to try and keep it as spoiler-free as possible. You have a scene where one of the gods literally is trying to seduce a woman, and the woman is, you know, she's not having it. She's like, what the hell, you know? And the god basically asks her, would it be harmful to have sex with you against your will? And, you know, the woman's like, yes. And in your mind, right, in a modern mind, in a modern 21st century mind, this is common sense. To assault someone in that manner is barbaric, inhumane, everything of the sort. And for the gods to not realize that, for the gods to bluntly and blatantly have to ask, would this be harmful to you? It just shows the disconnect between what the gods see as romance and sex and what we mortals see as rape. I adore the fact that Marie Phillips put it in here because it is a big slap in the face to everybody that has read Greek mythology because of the rape motif in Greek mythology, because you take all of these myths that we have. There's a plethora of examples. Leda by Zeus in the form of a swan, Alcmene by Zeus in the form of her husband, Aura by Dionysus when she was drunk, Odysseus in some versions by Calypso in the Odyssey. It's tearing the rose-colored glasses off of Greek mythology because when you really look at it, there's a lot of grotesque stuff that is deemed as divine romance when really it's not. Now, with that out of the way, we're gonna talk about the humor in this book because this book is funny, okay? This book is hilarious. I said originally that fans of Greek mythology would really like this book. I also want to put in there that I think fans of Patrick Ness's writing and maybe, dare I say, Oscar Wilde's writing would really like this book too, or at least the humor in it, because you do get a lot of quick jabs here and there, very fast one-liners, and it's just like, wait, what? Like, we were talking about something so serious and then there's this like one-liner. I love it, right? So if you like that type of humor or just that type of writing in and of itself, Gods Behaving Badly will make you laugh, or it will at least make you chuckle. I gave Gods Behaving Badly by Marie Phillips 5 stars, everybody. Okay, I absolutely adored this book. It made me laugh. It made me feel a lot of emotions that I wasn't expecting to feel, quite honestly. When the gods aren't being, you know, total douchebags, it is very solemn to see just how far they've fallen in terms of who admires them anymore, who prays to them anymore, and just how they adjust to their fall from grace, from being literal gods to now barely being able to conjure anything out of what they used to define their whole world as. Again, I feel like a lot of fans of Greek mythology would really like this book. Fans of Percy Jackson, fans of Patrick Ness's and maybe Oscar Wilde's writing, and honestly, now that I think about it, fans of Good Omens, because it has like that very light yet sort of whimsical aspect to it. So you guys, that was my spoiler-free review for Gods Behaving Badly. I hope you will pick this book up because it is one of my new favorites, and I just really hope that somebody else really likes this book as much as I do. So you guys, with that being said, I hope you will check out the links down in the description below. I hope you'll check out the playlist if you guys do decide to read this book. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!